don't think I was a normal child. I don't know, maybe other children did the same kinds of things I did, but maybe I was different. I don't know. But one thing I know for sure is that when I was in like first grade, I started to see people coming to school and they had glasses. It was, the age that they're going to school, learning how to read and looking at the board, and they couldn't see it. So they would find out they needed glasses. And one by one, they would come with these glasses, and I was stuck at school without anything on my face. So I decided I needed glasses too. So what I started to do was in first grade in Mrs. Olson's class, I started squinting every time I would look at the board. And I would do it really obviously when she would see me. I would just squint when I'd have a book or when I was looking at the board. And I would tell my mom that I had a hard time seeing the board. So my teacher told my mom, and my mom dutifully took me to the optometrist. And when we got there, I remember in the waiting room looking at the showcase of all the different glasses that I could choose. And I saw this blue pair of glasses, and on the side there was Little Orphan Annie. And I knew that that had to be my pair of glasses. Blue glasses with Little Orphan Annie on the side. So they called me back, and I went into the exam, and the doctor had a slideshow that he would put different things on the wall, different letters, and I had to read them. And so I would just choose at random ones that I could read and ones that I would miss. And then as we went along, the doctor said, well, I think I know what's going on here. I just need one more thing, and this will let me know for sure what kind of glasses to get you, or whether you need glasses or not. And so he put this big letter E on the wall. It took almost the size of the whole wall, I think. And I said, I don't know what that is. And he said, you don't know what that is? And I said, no, I can't see that. And I remember seeing my mom lean forward in her chair and say, Sharla, just read that letter. And I said, I cannot read it. And she said, don't lie. And I said, I'm not lying, Mom. I cannot read that E on the wall. So the doctor said, okay, I think I know what's going on, and I know just what kind of glasses to get for you. Let's go through the lenses, and I'll choose the best lens for you. So he was going through all the lenses, and it was really blurry, and he said, tell me where you can see the best. And I chose the lens that I could see the very best. And he said, all right, great. And then he pulled the machine away from my face and stuck his pen right through where the lens was supposed to be. There was no lens there. He showed me, he said, the best lens is your own eyes. You don't need glasses. And I was so sad. And as we left, we had to walk out past that blue pair of Annie glasses, and I knew I wasn't going to get to go home with them, and I was devastated. So I had to take it up to the next level. I wasn't the kind of kid that would just let that go, not when Annie glasses were at stake. So I started to come up with a plan as time went on, and I don't know exactly when I started doing it, but I know it was happening in second grade. I started writing everything backwards. So it looked like normal, except, normally on the page it goes from left to right, and I started writing from right to left, and all of my assignments were something that you could read in the mirror. So it was just backwards, mirror writing. And I thought, for sure, this is going to get me the glasses that I want. Of course, I was a second grader and didn't realize that that's not what happens when you need glasses, but that's what I just did. And my teacher was alarmed, and my parents were alarmed, and nobody knew what was going on. So my second grade teacher, Mrs. Twitchell, started sending me to special education, where they started doing all of the testing. And I remember psychologists coming with suitcases and of different things that they would test me, and speech therapists. And I just remember, going through all these tests, and I just kept writing backwards. And then not only did I want glasses, but I got to get pulled out of class. I was saved from a lot of worksheets. I was saved from worksheets where I could just do games with psychologists and go to special education. And instead of being just alone in a classroom full of 30 people, it was like me one-on-one with a teacher, and it was just great. So I thought, I am just winning here. Even if I don't get glasses, this is great. And they decided that I didn't qualify for special education. They didn't know what was wrong with me, though. So they said that they needed to do more tests on me. So they told my mom that there was a deaf and blind school that had some specialists there that could test me. And they pulled me out of school, and my mom would drive me to the deaf and blind school for testing. And I remember they would do like hearing tests and writing tests. And I remember a psychologist, I think it was a psychologist, was testing me. And we walked into a room, and there was this beautiful dollhouse to the side. And he was doing tests with me, and I kept thinking, when are we going to get to play with that dollhouse? He would read me numbers, and I had to repeat them, as many as I could remember. And he said I was doing fine. And then he said, hey, can you wait for just a minute? I want you to sit right here. Don't go anywhere. Just sit here at the desk. I'll be right back. And I was like, okay. So I was sitting there waiting for him to come back, and the dollhouse was just calling to me. And I thought, I wonder if I have time to just go over to the dollhouse really fast. And so I remembered that there was a window on the top of the wall when we walked in. And so I stood up on my chair to look out the window to see if he was coming back, because I thought maybe I have time before he gets here to play really fast. So I stood up on my chair and looked out, but I couldn't see out the window. It was a mirror. And I was like, oh, great. And so I started making faces in the mirror, like sticking my tongue out, putting my nose up, just making some silly faces in the mirror. And as I was making these faces in the mirror, I heard the doorknob start to rattle. And so I hurried and sat down because he was about to come back, and I was supposed to stay in my seat. So he came back, and he said, so I took a little bit longer than I thought I would. How have you been in here all alone? And I was like, oh, I'm good. And he said, did you stay in your seat the whole time? And I said, yeah, I did. So I totally lied. I mean, I was officially in my seat. I just was standing on it. And then he said, here, let me show you something. And he took me around the corner and showed me that it was a one-way mirror, and he had been watching me the whole time. And I was so embarrassed that I had made goofy faces in the mirror while he was watching me. And I just remember feeling humiliated. With all the testing at the deaf and blind school, they didn't know what was wrong with me either. So they said, well, let's go send her to Primary Children's Hospital, and we're going to get an EEG and read the brain waves and see what's going on there. And I was like, yes, another day out of school. So they made the appointment, and a little while later I went to Primary Children's, and they said that I had to stay up all night the night before, or stay up the night before, so that I would be nice and tired. They wanted me to rest or sleep while I was there. And I wasn't the kind of kid that could take naps, but my parents kept me up past midnight, and I was really tired, and we went the next day to Primary Children's. And of course I wasn't able to sleep, but I remember they glued all of the electrodes to my head, and I remember thinking, okay, this is my last chance to get glasses. This has got to count. So I remember thinking of the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, and I remember thinking, I need to think of it backwards so that they know. As we were checking out, I saw my mom writing a check. And my parents did not have a lot of extra expendable cash. And I said, Mom, did you have to pay for this? And she said, yeah, we did, but it's worth it because we love you so much and want to find out what's going on. And I had just gotten baptized not long before that, and I felt so guilty. And, I just thought it was a victimless crime up until this point, and I realized the depths of deceit that I had gone into. And I felt so guilty and so bad, and it just racked me. I remember laying in bed at night, and my 8-year-old mind was just feeling so awful that I was living a lie. And I had learned how to repent, that you have to go tell the truth and make things better. And so I started writing the right way, but I knew that I still needed to come clean to my mom, and I was so worried. So I got my courage up, and I thought, well, first I'll try it on my cousins and my siblings. And so we were roller skating over at my cousin's house, and I remember coming clean, and I said, okay, you know how I've been going to all of these doctors and stuff, and I've been writing backwards? Well, it's all been a lie. I just wanted glasses. And my cousins were like, oh, you need to tell your mom. And my youngest cousin there, he's so sweet. I remember still, he said, oh, this is so good. You need to tell your mom. And I'll tell my mom too, because they're so worried about you. My mom is always saying, what's wrong with that Sharla? Anyway, so I got the courage up, and I walked over to my mom, and I said, Mom, I need to tell you something. And I came clean, and I was crying, and I said, it's all been a lie. I just wanted glasses. I did all of this because I just wanted glasses. And she comforted me and said, oh, it's okay. And, made me feel better. And I went on with my life after that and thought, you know what? I can't get into lies like this anymore. And years later, when I was in college, I was talking to my mom about it. And she said, you mean you really did that? And I said, yeah, I came clean, remember? And she said, yeah, but I thought you were just making up a story then. I thought for sure an 8-year-old kid couldn't have done it for, from first grade to third grade, that you wouldn't have done that. And I said, yep, I did.